Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here to talk about my 10 favorite plays of all time. This will not include Shakespeare plays, because I feel that Shakespeare plays are onto a genre of their own, and I would like to read every Shakespeare play before I put together a list of my 10 favorites. But plays in general have really started catching my attention a few years ago. I would say in 2018 they started to pick up more attention in my mind, and I wanted to examine them a little bit more. So my interest has grown within these past few years. I really increased my the plays that I own, and I might look into incorporating more into my collection. But I also have complete collections too, and that's usually what I strive for when it comes to getting any writer and their works, Library of America, or just general complete collections from whomever is putting them together. But as per the lists that I do put together, this is going to count down from 10 to 1. And number 10 on my list is Fences by August Wilson, which we went over back in our 6th season. And Fences really does a lot to cover the dynamic among a black family during the 1950s and 60s, and the really powerful presence of Troy Maxson and the impact that he has among the dynamic within his family and those that are around him. The play itself, when it was performed, James Earl Jones played Troy, and I can only imagine what the dynamic would be like, because I can definitely see James Earl Jones playing the part. These were during performances in 1985 and 1987 at the very least. I really like what the absurd has to offer. And Samuel Beckett is among the geniuses of the absurd. I was trying to figure out which play I would want to put on here. I really got a lot out of Krapp's Last Tape, but the one that really made me think, and the one that really kept me engaged, is Waiting for Godot. Probably the one that he's known for the most. And it speaks a lot about life in general and how people utilize their lives and what they strive for, what they're looking to, and the absurdity of what people are looking toward in life. I thought that when we discussed it back in Season 4, I think that we covered a lot of ground, and it really was one of our most thought-provoking discussions, and I think there was a lot to say, and I think there's a lot to communicate about Waiting for Godot. Number 8 on my list is The Visit by Friedrich Dürrenmatt. Dürrenmatt is a Swiss playwright and writer, an essayist, and The Visit says a lot about the way that people act, the things that people value, and the media and their response. But it also says a lot about somebody's guilt and how their actions put themselves into a troubling situation where they could have gotten away and people would have believed them, but it gets to the point that they are so disdained that they end up in ruins, just on the basis of one visit from a jilted woman with power and money and what people want in society and what people feel that they need, and whether or not it is worth having blood on your hands in order to do so. And I think that the visit really was a very enraging piece. I think that it really spoke a lot about what makes us angry about human nature. And the fact that it's set in Gulen, Switzerland. There is no Gulen, Switzerland, but it is named as such because Gulen is a term for excrement. So that says a lot about society and the society within this piece. Number 7 is Napoleon in Exile by Daniel Retz, featured in Outstanding Short Plays, Volume 3. And we are going to be discussing this on our channel in the month of July. But it does follow a 25-year-old named Corey who has Asperger's syndrome, who his mother has recently been diagnosed with cancer, and they have a discussion about what it would be like if when she is gone and Corey has to look after himself. And if you see this as an individual with Asperger's, but not a representative of all individuals, this is a remarkable piece. Corey does have his quirkers, where he has to wear a certain shirt on each day of the week. He barely does any housework of any sort. He spends all day playing Minecraft and drinking soda, and his mother tells him that he needs to be able to contribute and also get a job as well. At least make an effort to get a job. And just her way of interacting with him is amazing. The fact that he says he'll go live with his father, and they do a reenactment. Let's pretend that you have an interaction with your father and try and see if you can move in. And ultimately, the realization is that it would not work. But it is a very, to me, a very heart-wrenching piece, because this is somebody who needs to learn the skills in order to make it on their own. But yet, Corey truly means well. He really loves his mother. He really cares for his mother, and he really wants to do what is right and do what is needed. Number 6 is Risen from the Dough by France Luce Benson. This was featured in the Off Broadway. Off Broadway's Festival Plays, the 41st series. It was one of 6 winners, which there are so many play submissions. There are 2 rounds that determine who has the best plays. and the six winners are collected in this anthology of plays, and they are also, and there's also awards for the playwrights also get awarded as well, and a lot of them it was their big break. But Risen from the Dough follows a family that runs a bakery in southern Florida in an area known as Little Haiti. And the older sister is more stubborn as far as breaking against tradition is concerned. She's a very strong traditionalist, and her younger sister is a little bit more accepting and flexible. And the health department is requiring that they get a hand washing sink with soap. And the older sister is very upset about this. Feels that these things are going to go against the traditions that came with making their goods. One of the playwrights that really caught my attention back in 2020, and I've really begun to enjoy his plays, is Eugene Ionesco. Ionesco is also an absurdist playwright, and I have two of his works in my top 10. Number 5 is the first one that I read of his, called The Bald Soprano, and it has a lot to do with also has to do with human relations and their interactions with one another, and how we bring into question whether or not the people that are married to one another, do they really know each other? And the people that interact with one another, why are they interacting, and why can you consider them to be friends with one another? Just the execution and the way that it is portrayed is brilliant. It's just so comical and hysterical. I think that The Bald Soprano is something that is really, it really is a delight to think about and evaluate. And number 4 is also a Eugene Ionesco play that I really enjoyed. It's a bit more serious, whereas The Bald Soprano has a lighthearted matter to it. Number 4 is very intense with its subject matter, and that is Rhinoceros, which has to do with the fact that there are rhinoceroses making their way into a city, and they are causing mass destruction. But the worst part is the civilians end up becoming rhinoceroses. All the way down to the fact, up until the point that there's only one person remaining. And it does speak a lot about peer pressure and the need to belong, not just to fit in, but ultimately to survive. And I think that there is that great sense of conformity and the dangers that it brings along with it. Number 3 is a play that I was first introduced to during my junior year of high school, but revisited and really began to appreciate back in 2016 when we discussed it during our 5th season. And that is The Crucible by Arthur Miller. I also have a collection of his plays, which can be found here. But I've read quite a few pieces that go over the Salem witch trials or witch trials of that nature. And I feel that nobody has been able to do it better than Arthur Miller did with The Crucible. The only thing that would be better is a historically accurate piece that talks about what happened exactly. Because there are things here that are fictionalized for the sake of making it more accessible, making it more appropriate in Arthur Miller's mind, because he makes Abigail a little older, where she was only 10, 11, 12 years old in the piece at hand. She was much younger, and because John Proctor was in his early 60s too, so it was a very there was a much larger age difference. Making her more 17 years old here would make it more so that he's engaged in a relationship with a young lady as opposed to a girl. But The Crucible was written also to address the concerns pertaining to McCarthyism and the naming of people as communists. But what I felt was the strength of The Crucible is that Arthur Miller, it's not necessarily written as a traditional play where it's just stage direction after stage direction, but it's also the idea that Arthur Miller also incorporates narrative into it and provides background to the piece. I think that the characters in this piece are very solid and strong. I think that especially the character of Danforth, and how Danforth really is the deputy governor that keeps the play flowing, and the status of the accused in question. Because if you had someone like Hawthorne leading it, it would just be a play about the how tight do you put the noose on, as opposed to whether or not the person is really of the devil. But The Crucible is a play that I was really engaged in, and it's something that I continue to think about, to the point that I revisited it for a discussion on the channel. I remember back in junior year we had to create a comic, like a comic book of The Crucible, and many of us, we just found we went through Google Images to determine what we wanted to use. So I tried to type things in, and I had myself a good time with it, and I did pretty well, to the point that the teacher in that class would refer to that version. Number 2 on my list is something that I also read for the first time before doing the show. I read it in English 2 at college, and then I revisited it for a season 11 discussion. And that is A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. And I think that reading it the second time, I got a much stronger response from it, because it was just so atmospheric with the way that it depicted the world in which we were examining. I could really feel myself being right there, seeing everything take place. And the characters in this piece were just incredibly flawed in any which way. You got a great sense of who people were and what their explanation was for doing it. And you really get an idea as to what's going on, but you never have that idea as to what is causing them to be the way that they are. And there's a lot that you would have to take into consideration before you can make any judgment. And when I was reading The Streetcar Named Desire, I was so immersed as I was preparing for the discussion. As we speak, and I'd like to read many more plays, my favorite play of all time is one that I've read 3 times. One for British Literature 2, one for Irish Literature, and then again for a Season 10 discussion on our channel. And that is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde really said a lot about the tail end of Victorian England and the triviality of the world around him. The Importance of Being Earnest was his last play, and it was during the showing of these plays that he was pointed out for being openly gay, which was illegal back then because it was an act of sodomy. But what made The Importance of Being Earnest remarkable is it says a lot about the upper class values and how petty people are on this, and how petty these people are when it comes to their great concern of being someone that they are not in order to obtain what they want. Caring more about what they want as opposed to what they believe. And the major characters having to have what they want as opposed to looking into the greater picture of things. And I think that there are supporting characters that really breathe a sense of common sense into this piece. All of them are supporting characters, but still. I just enjoy coming back to and revisiting and thinking about what The Importance of Being Earnest has to offer. And I think that the adaptations that I've seen, I saw a film adaptation where Colin Firth played the role of Jack. And I think that he was quite fitting for the role because of how awkward his characters can be. I just think about how brilliant he was in The King's Speech as well. But as it stands today, The Importance of Being Earnest is my favorite play, as well as the play that I have read the most. And it would not pass me to pick it up and read it again for a 4th time. I want to thank you for tuning in to this video, where I counted down my favorite plays. I hope you check out some more videos from our channel, from me, and from the other contributors that are taking part on this channel, because my contributors are doing an outstanding job. If you like what you see, please subscribe, because we have a lot of content going up this year. I also encourage you to give this video a good old like, and if you want to continue talking about the plays on here, which I highly encourage you to check out and read, please do so in the comments, and I will be happy to reply. If you really, really like what you see, please support our channel on Patreon so that we can provide you with even more great content. Thank you for tuning in, and for now, keep reading.